I've been covering this game for quite a while. Actually, as a matter of fact, I have been covering this game ever since I made this channel, ever since I founded this channel. I was that one dude that nobody believed that this thing was going to be actually a thing. I was so happy to see when Dragon's Dogma was announced. And now we got some gameplay. Now I can properly say that this is going to be gorgeous, beautiful, and amazing. And we are going to, of course, be discussing about the mechanics and the things that we were able to see on the gameplay trailer. But for now, I want to focus on something that I have been realizing throughout the years, through the videos that I posted about the coverage for Dragon's Dogma, about something very specific that the players wanted to see in a sequel, and that sadly, or fortunately for some other people, it is not going to be a thing. So let's just lay it on the table. Let's talk about it. There is not going to be a proper co-op multiplayer as you wanted it to be. I know that this is a thing that many people wanted to see. It's an evolving generation and we would like to see these jumps, but it is not going to be a thing, and that is basically confirmed. I'm just speaking about things that we have confirmed. So, more than the gameplay, we also have the first look at the actual official website of the game. And in the website of the game, you can see this. This is the About section of the game, and it reads as it follows. The deep, explorable fantasy world of Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma is a single-player, narrative-driven action RPG that challenges players to choose their own experience, from the appearance of the arisen, their vocation, their party, and how to approach different situations and more. In your journey, you will be joined by pawns, mysterious, otherworldly beings in an adventure so unique you will feel as if accompanied by other players while on your own adventure. Big, huge emphasis in here, as if accompanied by other players while on your own adventure. All of these elements are elevated further by the latest in graphics, artificial intelligence, AI, and physics technology to create a truly immersive fantasy world in Dragon's Dogma 2. If you scroll a little bit down, you will see this section where you can see about the Arisen, about the dragon, the stuff that we actually already know from the previous game, but there's also the pawns. So the pawns are, again, mysterious, otherworldly beings devoted to serving the Arisen. With their character uniquely determined by the player and the control AI, they make gameplay feel as if you're accompanied by others. Then again, Hideaki Itsuno does take the mechanics, the assets that we have from previous games, and they implement them as they feel like the role is going to be felt by these mechanics. I do have to say that it is a bummer for all of those people that did want to have a proper co-op thing in this game. But me personally, if I speak for myself, I cannot be happier that co-op is not going to be a thing in Dragon's Dogma. Now, let me explain why. There is a very huge specific reason for that, pardon redundant reasoning. And the thing is that, yes, this is a single-player experience. You do have Dragon's Dogma Online, although that was aside from the projects that Hideaki Itsuno had. Hideaki Itsuno had been working mainly on the modern gaming, mostly on Dragon's Dogma and Devil May Cry. And those are single-player game experiences. And I wouldn't have any other kind of mechanic get in the way of giving me, or giving us, the players, the Arisens, that thing that we crave the most, a beautifully crafted, composed combat mechanic system that feels like it's seemingly working with the monsters and the world and the combat animations and all of those assets that you have at your advantage that made Dragon's Dogma what it is. A cult classic that it needs to have a little bit more attention because of this. And now, that is a single player experience. I can properly say that if they wanted to implement a kind of active co-op, it would change the essence of the game in so many fronts. It is so easy for us to come out and say, hey, I want for this thing to have a proper co-op multiplayer. It is so easy to say, but it is so difficult to actually balance the game in a way that properly works in the same seamless way that it feels when you're actively fighting in the world of the Dragon's Dogma world. When you're speaking about the combat system implementing a co-op system, it would involve having a kind of matchmaking system. You do have the ripstones where you summon the pawns, and you could say that you could summon some more players in there, but it is not the same thing because this game is not based on dungeons on itself. There are dungeons, but they are a little bit different than the regular dungeons that you have in different games. It is not as in Dragon's Dogma that you go to a dungeon and you go there looking for a specific reward, at least not until you get into the end game. It's just that dark place that you can go there and feel the oppression of the darkness and the dark fantasy of this game. But it is not necessarily a dungeon that is structured in a way that many players should be in there exploring, and I do not want for them to have to balance those kind of dungeons to function as an activity, side activity, that you would have to do, forced to do with different players, because this is not how it works. You do have games like Dark Souls out there that they did implement some kind of combat system. But then again, the balancing for the bosses, animations, and everything that you need to have into account, I would say the best comparison that I can come up with is that for a multiplayer game like this to properly work, it would have to be either fully completely multiplayer or either fully completely single player, as you see on Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, yes, you can play by yourself and single player, but the real focus for Monster Hunter games is to fight with your friends, fight with different hunters. That is the whole purpose of the thing. You cannot make a single player experience Monster Hunter because that is not the essence of a Monster Hunter. And then again, they are very similar in the aspect that you have that specific animation for skeletons and bosses and whatnot, but Monster Hunter was built for that specific specimen, for that specific skeleton. That's why Monster Hunter works as it works, because it was built like that. I wouldn't want for multiplayer and balancing and trying to change the main course of the world that you have in front of you to be affected by multiplayer. So I am very sorry for the people that wanted to see proper multiplayer in Dragon's Dogma, but me personally speaking from my bias, I would like just to say also a little bit objectively outside from my bias, I could say that this is a game that doesn't need co-op multiplayer, and that if they added co-op multiplayer, it would ruin kind of the experience that you have. Then again, yes, Dragon's Dogma Online was a thing. I did play a bit of Dragon's Dogma, but I, with fear of getting hate on me, I think that Dragon's Dogma was a game for nostalgia, for the players that wanted more from Dragon's Dogma, but it wasn't probably a huge hit. It is no wonder that the game had shut down, because that was, while it was fun for Dragon's Dogma players, but it wasn't that kind of huge hit that a multiplayer should bring to the table. And speaking from a company ICE, of course Capcom sees Monster Hunter and they see revenue because that's a hit, that's something that people loves. A multiplayer Dragon's Dogma would be something for a very specific small public, and I can tell you, if they manage to keep, I know that this game is going to nail it, but if it gets attention, if it gets the track, if it gets the marketing, I'm sure that this game is going to be a huge hit. It's going to stop being a cult classic, but it needs to be that regular experience of a single player game, that it has all of those specific elements untarnished by the co-op or multiplayer experience. We will be covering a little bit more of Dragon's Dogma. We will be speaking later video on why is this going to be amazing, and we're going to be analyzing the trailer and combat mechanics and whatnot. But for now, if you like the content, I'd like to very super appreciate it. No, I'll tell you today, you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.